So, I popped into High House Insurance to see if they could quote for my house insurance rather than using the internet. High House got a great deal. So to celebrate, I bought a posh hairdo. It made me look beautiful, gorgeous enough to become a highly paid model. I then won Celebrity Big Brother. I had an affair with an MP. Now I'm promoting a doll of me that says, "Cool blimey, you're well fit."
Happy things happen when you talk face-to-face with High House Insurance. See if we can beat your home insurance quote from the internet. Find us on the High Street, Selsey, or call 606 552.
Hello and a warm welcome to Manhood Internet Radio. I'm Tony Weiner, your host for this show. We start the programme as usual with Alison's review of what's on in the area, which includes a helpful weather forecast and tide time for those of you doing outdoor activities or are down on the beach, and that will be followed by an interview with Lee Smith about his kickboxing courses. We have an interview with Teresa White about fibromyalgia, and then we go to Keith's Kitchen for 2 yummy recipes. So we better get going, and it's over to Alison for a roundup of what's on in the area.
Hello again, once again welcome to our weekly review of what's going on in Selsey and the Witterings. So this week we'll start off by having a look at Selsey. And of course it's Carnival Week coming up, so plenty going on. On Wednesday the 24th, we kick off with an afternoon of music with Cliff Reeves. He'll be singing at St Peter's Church Hall at 2:15. Tickets are only £3 and you can get those on the door. Refreshments will be provided and all the monies are going to Snack Shack. Also on that day, the RSPB are doing an afternoon bird walk around Church Norton and the Severals with Graham Whitehead of the RSPB Chichester local group. You need to meet in the car park by the church at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Now on Friday the 26th of August, we've got a fun workshop called Vocalise, Don't Shout project. Perhaps I should go along to that. This is to allow you to polish your vocal skills, learn to speak clearly and expressively. It's how to put a smile in your voice, how to speak with authority, and gain confidence in your everyday communications. That's being held at Selsey Town Hall. There are 2 sessions, one at 2 o'clock and one at 7 o'clock. Entry is £2. Also on Friday, the U3A will be holding their monthly meeting at the Selsey Centre. That's at 2:30 in the afternoon. Their speaker this month is Tony Turner, and his title is Jump, the true story of Dolly Shepherd, an adventurous Edwardian lady parachutist. So if you want to find out all about her, go and join the U3A monthly meeting. And I know that non-members can also attend that. On the same day, there's the Art of the Classical Guitar, a concert which is being given by junior and senior members of the UK's most popular classical guitar society, the West Sussex Guitar Group. They're meeting at the Selsey Centre at 7:30 in the evening. Tickets for that are £7, which does include refreshments. On Saturday the 27th of August, the Selsey Lifeboat Association are setting off with their Festival Bazaar in the Town Hall from 10 o'clock until 12 o'clock. Admission and refreshments are by donation. Now, for those people who like to get stocked up early, apparently they're going to be selling RNLI Christmas items. So don't forget you heard it first on this station. Christmas items ready for December 2016 and RNLI souvenirs. There'll be jewellery, quality bric-a-brac, a tombola, homemade cakes, a raffle and all sorts of other things going on. So that's the Selsey Lifeboat Association at the Town Hall. Also on Saturday, the Cat and Kitten Rehoming Day, which will be held at the Cat and Rabbit Rescue Centre, Calder Lane, Siddlesham, from 12 noon until 2 o'clock. Later that evening, there's live entertainment at the Selsey Royal British Legion Club. New members, as always, are very welcome. Tonight the band is Limited S. That's at the Legion. And on Sunday the 28th, it's the Selsey Carnival Floats from 12 noon onwards at the Recreation Ground. You can check out the Octopot, presented by Beautiful Creatures Theatre Arts. The floats are going to be judged at 1 o'clock and the procession will be leaving at 2, headed up by Jimmy's Jazzers. The route, as usual, follows from School Lane, High Street, Hillfield Road, Seal Road, Grafton Road, Manor Road, Church Road, back onto the High Street and then back to School Lane. This year's theme is the Mardi Gras. If you want to enter, you can get an application form online from www.selseacarnival.org. Now, I have looked it up for you, and there are 4 classes that you can enter. The first one is motorised. That includes lorries, tractors pulling a trailer, or anything on which people can be carried. That's Class 1. Class 2 is motorised domestic trailers and decorated vehicles. Now, if you don't fit into either one of those categories, how about entering in Class 3? You can go as a pedestrian, a cyclist, a mobility scooter, or a pram, and it also says etc. So if you're an etc., that's the one for you. And the 4th class is classic cars. So that's the Selsey Carnival procession on Sunday the 28th. Also on Sunday, there's an RSPB venture called Someone to Guide You. This is for people who are unsure of what bird is what. The RSPB guides will be at the Church Norton Hyde on Pagham Harbour to help you spot and identify the wildlife that you see. This is a free event. You can drop in at any time between 11 and 2 on Sunday. There's also going to be a barbecue, disco and family fun day at Selsey Football Club from 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The entry to that is free, but the football club would welcome raffle prizes, so you can take those along for your entry. So that's Selsey Football Club, 4 o'clock for their barbecue and disco. Later in the evening, there'll be the Selsey Carnival fireworks on the recreation ground at 8:30. That'll be in addition to the Burnet's Fun Fair. Now, I'm sure you haven't forgotten that Monday the 29th is the final bank holiday of the year. And of course, as usual, we have the giant car boot sale. Vendors can arrive at 6 o'clock in the morning. The cost for that is cars £7, a car and a trailer or a van or a transit van is going to be £10, commercial traders £20. It'll be open to vendors from 6 but open to the public from 8:30 in the morning, and that's going to be held on the recreation ground at School Lane. Now, as usual through the summer, the activities for the youngsters are still going on, so it's not too late to join in with those. The filmmaking project is still happening on a Tuesday. That's from 10 until 5. It's free to join and it's from age 11 onwards. That's held at the bridge on a Tuesday. On Thursdays, there's an activity drop-in session from 2 until 5. Entrance for that is £1 and it's suitable for those youngsters aged 10 to 16. That one's held at the Selsey Centre. There's a summer art experience on Wednesdays from 11:30 until 4. That one's free to join and it's held at the bridge. Also, still going on, there's the Growler Gardening Project. That's on a Friday from 11 until 5. That one's free to join and it's suitable for anyone 11 and over. Don't forget, for parents, there's a free drop-in from 9:30 until 11 on Monday, from 4 until 6 on Mondays and Thursdays, and there's a dad's walk and talk from 6 o'clock until 7 o'clock on Wednesdays. So that's a parents drop-in at the bridge. For more information on that one, you can call 07587 16037. So I'll repeat that. That's the parent support number, 07587 16037. So that's everything from Selsey for this week. So let's move across the peninsula, go and have a look at what's happening at the Witterings and Bracklesham. On Wednesday the 24th, it's time for table tennis. This is a drop-in and play for adults to be held at Bracklesham Barn from 10 o'clock until 12 midday. Also at the barn, CBT motorcycle training from 9 until 11, followed by gyrokensis with Jen. That's from 11 until 12. Then lunchtime, belly dancing with Step Inside at the barn. That's from 1 until 2, followed by short mat bowls at the barn 2 until 4. Later in the evening, it's time for Zumba with Louise. That will be held from 6:30 until 7:30. and then it's happy hour at Pond Barn from 5 until 8. So that's everything on Wednesday. On Thursday, it's time for Stitch and Yarn at the Witterings Medical Centre from 10:30 until 12:30. And alongside that, there's Knit and Natter at East Wittering Library from 11 until 12:30. The Witterings Master Art Group will be meeting from 10 o'clock until 12 o'clock at West Wittering Memorial Hall. West Wittering Short Mat Bowls, 4 sessions there, 10 until 12, 2 until 4, 7 until 9:30. West Wittering Memorial Hall. If you're interested in that, call Maggie. She's on 673-231. That's Maggie, 673-231. And in the evening, it's time for karaoke at the Pond Barn from 7 until 11. On Friday, that's the 26th, there's Short Mat Bowls at Bracklesham Barn from 2 until 4. Then on Saturday, we've got the Craft Market and Nearly New book sale from 10:30 in the morning until 3:30 in the afternoon. You'll find that at the East Wittering Village Hall. On Sunday, the Windrush Church have their meeting at Bracklesham Barn from 10:30 until 12:45. And there's Pond Barn Quiz Night at 8 o'clock. On Monday, we've got the Little Ducklings Mother and Toddler Group at Bracklesham Barn. They meet from 9:30 until 11:30. For the slightly older age group, we've got the Short Mat Bowls at the barn from 10:30 until 1. And then again in the evening, it's time for Yoga with Elaine from 7 until 8:30, also at Bracklesham Barn. And also that evening, there's ARO Ladies Beginner Kickboxing with Verity. She's holding that class from 7:30 until 8:30 at Bracklesham Barn. On Tuesday the 30th, it's time for Little Explorers Play and Learn Together at the barn. They're meeting from 9:30 until 11. And also that morning, meet and greet at West Wittering Memorial Hall. There'll be time for coffee, games, homemade soup and a roll. That's from 10:15 until 1. Also at the barn that day, Yoga with Elaine from 10 o'clock until 11 o'clock. And it's time for the Witterings Quilters to meet at St Peter's Roman Catholic Church Hall from 7 in the evening until 9 o'clock. If you're interested in joining them, you need to speak to Judith Rogers. She can be contacted on 511 431. That's Judith Rogers for the Quilters, 511 431. In the evening, there's the Community Pop Choir at West Wittering. That's from 7 until 9. And the Badminton Club will be meeting at the barn from 7:30 until 9:30. And there's also free pool at the Pond Barn that day. So plenty going on. It seemed to me that with all this going on that we might want to know what the weather's doing. So I've been having a look at the long range weather forecast. Well, long range for a week anyway. So let's have a look at the weather in Selsey and the Witterings. Our local weather station is Pagham, so not too far away. And this is what the weather holds in store for us. So Wednesday the 24th, we can expect a high of 23 degrees centigrade. If you want that in old-fashioned pounds and ounces, that's 73 degrees Fahrenheit, and a low of 15 degrees Celsius or 59 degrees Fahrenheit. The outlook is for sunny with a 10-mile-an-hour wind, which will be an east-northeasterly. Followed on Thursday, 1 degree higher, 24 degrees centigrade, so it's going in the right direction. That's 75 degrees Fahrenheit. A low again of 15 degrees C or 59 degrees Fahrenheit. The outlook is sunny with an 8-mile-an-hour wind, which is going to be a north-northeasterly. Friday the 26th, steady with the weather, 24 degrees Celsius or 75 degrees Fahrenheit, a low that day of 15 degrees C or 59 degrees Fahrenheit. Again sunny, slightly windier, 10 miles an hour, north-northeasterly. Now on Saturday the 27th, we're hitting the highs. We should have a high of 26 degrees Celsius or 79 degrees Fahrenheit, so that's plenty warm enough. Again a low of 15 degrees C or 59 degrees Fahrenheit. Sunny with an 11-mile-an-hour southerly wind, so I should imagine that's why it's looking a lot warmer. Now, with all that good weather, you might like to know what the tide will be up to, so I've had a look at that as well for the week. At the beginning of my radio week, which is a Wednesday the 24th, low tide is going to be at 9:52 to be precise in the morning. That's 10 to 10 in the morning. High tide at 4:30 in the afternoon. Obviously that will change as the week progresses, so my week is ending on Tuesday with a high tide at 11 in the morning and a low at 4:30. So if you want to get down with your buckets and spades or your swimming costumes, those are the times to bear in mind. So have a good week, and I'll speak to you next week. Bye then.
Thank you, Alison. Plenty of things to keep us busy. Now over to Keith, who is talking to Lee Smith.
Right, with me now, I've got a gentleman called Lee Smith, and he's a gentleman I wouldn't argue with, because Lee is from ARO Fitness and Kickboxing down in Selsey. Morning, Lee.
Morning, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thanks. Now, I believe that kickboxing is really sort of taking off down in Selsey. Your classes are well attended, I understand.
Oh yeah, we've been running classes there for about 4 years now, and we've actually moved down in the last 2 years. And the classes are growing and growing. We run classes from 4 years upwards. I think one of our oldest students is 65.
Good grief, he must want to knock his wife about or something. So you started 4 years ago?
We started in sales about 4 years ago, yeah. I'm actually originally from Reading, and we used to travel down to teach.
Yeah. And then you decided that it was such a lovely place, you'd moved down here and...
Well, yeah, we were commuting from Reading, so we decided it's such a nice place. We thought, actually, let's live here and commute back to Reading, because we still run classes in Reading as well.
Far better idea, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Far better idea. So tell us, I mean, you do classes for all age groups, from, as you say, 4-year-olds up to...
Yeah, we start off at 4 years, 4 to 6 year olds, which is our Ollie Kickers programme. It's a half an hour session, and it gets the kids sort of moving, working their motor skills, and just basic sort of pad drills and stuff. Nothing too intense, and giving them a bit of fun, and that's the foundation for moving them up into the next classes, which is our Kids Kickers programme, which is 6 to 13 years.
And I know what kids are like, if they're into anything like that, they want to knock each other about a bit. It's the discipline that comes from something like this that stops them doing that.
Absolutely, it sort of redirects their energy and focus and gives them something to work through. And obviously we reinforce that what they learn in the dojo, the training hall stays in the dojo, and they're not allowed to use it outside.
Yeah, it's always good for kids to know that, because they sometimes find it very difficult to draw the line between the two. They know that they can look after themselves a little bit, so they tend to.
Oh yeah, they've got the control, they know what to do in a situation, and it just gives them a bit more sort of, if they're in a situation, to back off and take the right route, to be fair, report it to a teacher or something like that.
You find it increases their confidence, their self-confidence?
Yeah, I mean, part of what we do is, once I started training with us, we actually get every child to come out front and teach, which builds up their self-esteem and their confidence. And we've had a few teachers. I've worked in schools as well, and they've commented how the kids' confidence has grown.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a wonderful idea for teaching kids self-confidence. That they're quietly confident, if you like.
Yeah.
Rather than now, that's all right for the kids, but what about when you get to the adults? A lot of our adults come down. To be honest, a lot of our adults come down because they're normally sort of bored with a normal gym workout, and they want to do something a little bit more interesting and focused. And also, we have the grading system as well, which works well for the kids. So every few months we have a grading. They work towards that grading, and it just gives them steps. And it works great with the adults, with the fitness side of it, because they've always got something to work to. So they go for their first belt sort of 3 months in, and then once they've passed that, if they're successful passing that, then they work for the next one. So it's a great retention tool for them, working, because we do a lot of fitness as well, press up, sit ups, and normal sort of stuff, and it just gives them that focus and something to aim for, rather than just on that treadmill backwards and forwards. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've not had anything to do with kickboxing in my time. Boxing, yes, but and other forms of combat, yes, but kickboxing, no. But a friend of mine, the young assistant manager that I had at a place I worked, he was quite well into it, but he used to come to work black and blue.
Yeah, well, this is something that we gear our sessions for families, and we're not even though some of our guys do compete and they have won title fights, we're not a big fighting club, and we try and get that across to people that when they first come down. So this goes back to my personal training. I used to train quite a sort of quite some wealthy people, but they didn't want to go back in the office the next morning and business meetings, sales meetings with black eyes and stuff.
I thought they'd done their street cred a world of good.
Absolutely. But yeah, we're quite controlled on that, and safety gears, they're not allowed to spar unless they've got the correct training equipment, protective equipment, and they've got the control to so you're just semi-contact, we call it, where you're just touching. So we're not a full contact club, which is basically like a fight club. We are a semi-contact club.
So you concentrate on the fitness and the kickboxing.
Yeah, we focus on both, and some come down and just want to do it for fitness, and you make friends, sort of the social side of it. Some actually, most of them do the grading, so it gives them something to work through.
Yeah.
And then we have guys that want to compete, which we put them forward, and we work with some associations where we go and compete, and they can work through the ranks. If they
So you can do pretty much as you can take it pretty much as far as you
absolutely
as
yeah.
you
They can
want
go
as
all the
an
way, or
individual.
they can just use it as a fitness class. And that's what we're all about. The families come down. The kids.
Now, how many sessions a week do you run? And do you only run them in Selsey now? I know you do Reading as well.
Yeah, we've got a big club in Reading, but Selsey area is really sort of expanding for us. We have our Saturday class, which is we do a little kids class, 4 to 6 year olds at 9:45, and then we go into a family class at 10:30, which is 6 years upwards, where we have families train, kids train. They train separately, but in the same area. And then we have ladies only in Bracklesham on a Monday evening.
Oh, okay.
So that's a new one that we've started.
Do you think it's safe teaching ladies things like that? I mean, guys like me get worried when women are capable of.
Ladies love it. They
giving you a good bashing.
They love the pad work. They love that de-stress. It's their time to get out from, putting the kids to bed.
Do they come in with pictures of their husbands painted on the back of the pads?
They don't come in with that, but they do say that. Can I do
imagine.
that? Yes,
Imagine.
So and it's very sociable for them. It's their time to get away and just switch off. Because the other thing is, when you're training in kickboxing, you're thinking about what you're doing rather than drifting off and thinking, I've got to do this, got to do that. And it's just their time to get away, bash the pads. And they're not even thinking about the fitness side of it. So and then they are quite pushing them.
Pure, unadulterated aggression.
Absolutely, yeah.
Get it out your system,
and the ladies. They change.
Especially before you get home. Right, now, if somebody wants to sign up for one of your sessions, how do they go about it?
We always offer first session free, so they can come down and try it out. Just log on to our website, which is www.arofitnesskickboxing.com, and they can book direct on there. It's got a whole list of classes on there. They can download our app, or they can just give us a call. All the details on the website, and our Facebook page as well, very important.
And have you got a phone number just in case anybody hasn't got the internet, or they've smashed it up in a fit of pique?
Our main phone number is 0800 999 5411.
Call the ambulance. 0800 9999. I like that. Okay, well that's brilliantly. Thanks for coming in and giving us a bit of insight into your classes that you're running, and may you do extremely well. The only thing I fear is that Selsey is going to be turned into a place to walk around the streets and be frightened because of the old fossils that have learned how to look after themselves. Anyway, thanks once again for coming in. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We now have a serious topic concerning fibromyalgia, so it's over to Keith, who is talking to Teresa White.
Right, we're welcome back into the studio now, Teresa White, and this week Teresa is going to be talking to us about fibromyalgia. Morning, Teresa.
Morning.
Right, I know you can tell us an awful lot about this subject, and it's something that's probably little known at the moment, but seems to be expanding and doesn't only affect older people. I do know, since we spoke about it last, which was some time ago, I actually know of some younger people now that suffer from fibromyalgia. Yeah. So please tell us, what's fibromyalgia?
Well, unfortunately now they're noticing that children are being born with fibromyalgia, and there are some very, very young cases where these poor children are in this chronic pain 24/7, and they don't quite know how to treat these children. So it's Australia, New Zealand, they're miles ahead of us in understanding, and America, understanding about fibro and how it works. And there must be hundreds of so-called cures out there, so-called, we've discovered what it is that's causing it. The nerve endings are too high in your skin, your brain doesn't work properly, so the pain receptors don't switch off. And I've had all this, and I've been through all this for the last 20, 30 years. And which is why I started up a group, because people they feel very isolated with fibromyalgia. I've had phone calls Christmas Day where these women haven't known what to do with themselves. Hubby's left them, the kids are playing up, they can't cope, they just don't know what to do because the energy levels just disappear. So it's sort of a cross between chronic pain and chronic fatigue, a bit of ME thrown into it, and you just get to your wit's end, you really do. Unfortunately, doctors, GPs, it's not their fault, but they see a syndrome, which is what this is, because it's more than one ailment wrong with you, so it appears, and they can't help you. And some of them get quite stroppy because they feel frustrated because they can't give you something that you go away, you take it and you feel better. And I've actually had that said to me by a GP.
Is it a case you think that they think a lot of it's in between your ears?
Yeah, some do.
And not, I mean, some of the doctors, it would seem that they treat it as not a real problem. You're imagining that you've got something wrong with you, so you've got something wrong with you.
I would have thought donkeys years ago, because there's notifications in her books that Florence Nightingale had this, and we do actually celebrate Florence Nightingale's birthday as the Fibromyalgia Awareness Day. But years and years and years ago, that far back, they would have been put into an institution as being mad or having the vapours or whatever, and after that it was called fibrositis, and my mother had fibrositis. She was actually diagnosed with it, which is why I think I've got it, because they do say it's hereditary. I'm glad
you made that link there, because a lot of people will have heard of fibrositis, may not have heard of fibromyalgia. And that was what it was called, but they changed the name because it didn't cover the actual illness, because the myalgia is the pain. And the fibro is all your tendons and your muscles, which appear to ache, but they're now not sure if it's that or if it's the nerves that are causing the pain. But I've been recently, I was so fed up, and I was just turned 60, and I thought I can't live the next last piece of my life in all this pain. And I was doing less and less and less, and all I seemed to be doing was going back to bed. I was taking the dogs in, I was doing what I had to do with the dogs, I was getting someone else to walk them, which was costing me money, obviously, and I just thought, this is ridiculous, so I went private. I went to a gentleman who's got 4 practices, and I went to the Chichester one. Dr. David Owen is his name, and it's called The Natural Practice. He's only there on a Thursday afternoon in Chichester, otherwise he runs out of, I think it's Winchester and Bournemouth it could be, but anyway, it's all natural, because I'm not a great lover of all these tablets that they put you on, which usually have adverse side effects anyway. And it's the best thing I've ever done. That and taking an allergy test were the 2 best things I've ever spent my money on. So is it linked to allergies?
It is linked to allergies, because they reckon people who have got fibromyalgia tend to have quite a few allergies. And I went to online, it's called HealthSpan, and it cost me about £150. Best money I've ever spent, and it's the only one that's recognised by the medical people, by the GPs and that. And they send you a little kit out, you do a little prick test, you send it off, And I was such a coward, I couldn't even do the prick test. How bad is that? I had to get a friend of mine come round who would talk me into it and, come on, what's the matter with you? And she did it for me, and send it off. And within a week, I had all my results, which told me I was allergic to cow's milk, which I did know because I've been allergic to it since I was a child. Lentils, which is quite a rare one, egg whites, and cashew nuts. Now, 2 of those are not 2 that would jump out at you, you know.
No.
So, and it's borderline with the wheat. So I cut the wheat out because I did find it gave me an upset tummy. And once I did that, I did start to feel a bit better, but it wasn't the whole thing. So going to Dr. Owen, he put me on a Candida and diet, which is no yeast. It's quite strict, I'll tell you. It's no yeast, no sugar, no caffeine, no alcohol. Oh, that was the worst. No chocolate. And no citric acid, no fruit. Really, really strict. So you can't have bread. So I was on Rivitas. You can have slightly unusual things like tahini. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's sesame seeds made a bit like a peanut butter paste. Can't have peanut butter. The tahini is lovely, really, really nice replacement for peanut butter if you like peanut butter. Obviously, you can't have Marmite, Bovril, or anything like that. Can't have jam.
So the yeast, yeah.
Yeah. So you stay on that for 6 weeks, and I detoxed for about a week, and I felt rubbish. Oh my God! I thought, what have I done? But it's the caffeine and everything leaving your body, and all the sugar, which is amazing how much sugar they put. No wonder everybody's getting obese, the amount of sugar that the manufacturers are getting away with putting in.
Being diabetic myself, I always have to check the sugars on, if we go shopping. Not that I go shopping very often, but when I do, I always have to check the sugar contents, and some of them are outrageous.
I picked up,
believe it or not, some products, and I won't mention the name of the store, but it's not one of your cheaper stores to do your shopping in, but their own brand products contain 50% more sugar than the equivalent product made by a different manufacturer.
That's dreadful.
It was a real eye opener to me to look at that. But so it's increased your life expectancy, but you're going to suffer for that much longer. Because if you take all those things out of your diet, what can you have?
Well, I managed
it's certainly not fun.
Rivitas, and of course I wouldn't say I'm allergic to oats, but I have a very adverse effect. They have a very adverse effect on me. So I can't have them. So I can't have porridge in the mornings like most people would. So I have rice flake porridge, which is quite nice if you make it properly. You've got to learn how to make it. I've had to relearn all my cooking skills. I bought a Candida cookbook, which has been so much help to me. Obviously, I can have meat. I can't have bacon, and I can't have processed meat. But I can have meat, proper meat. And I did have a tendency to prepare my meals from scratch anyway. I'm old school, Mum taught me. But I had sort of got away from that and had a few takeaways, which were naughty. So we've stopped all that now. And lots of veg. You have to redo gravy. You can't have corn flour because that's processed. So you have to use maize meal, or you can buy vegetable cubes, calico or calco or something they're called. And you just have to go, there's a wonderful shop online called Goodness Direct for anybody who's got allergies. Go and have a look. That what they don't sell isn't worth having. But what I object to more than anything is paying 4 times the price for something that's got something taken out of it, because I can't have it. Like citric acid.
I've just been away with some friends for a week or so, and she's gluten intolerant, and trying to find stuff, and when you do find it, it's more expensive. And you think, well, why? Why is it more expensive? Anyway, we're convinced, or I'm convinced by you now, that it's not a psychosomatic illness, that it is a real thing, as it were, and let's hope the doctors start thinking about it in the same way.
Yeah.
And then we might get some research into it proper, as they say.
Well, FMA UK are doing lots and lots of research. They've got a wonderful website, and you can go to them and have an educational pack. You just request it online or phone them up. An educational pack sent to your GP, which explains to them in more detail about fibro. So if they don't know, that's a good starting place for them.
Yeah.
And there is a fibromyalgia conference. It wasn't held this year due to ill health, because as usual you only get the same volunteers coming up to help. But I'm sure that Jean will talk to anybody. She's the lady who runs it. What she doesn't know about fibromyalgia isn't worth knowing. So you can contact Jean Hambleton on 01243 674447. And if you want to talk to me, I'm Teresa, and it's 01243 670 783. I do still run a group. I used to hold it in Selsey. Again, due to ill health, my legs have now decided they will cramp when I drive, which is lovely. So I can't drive very far. So I usually can't get into Selsey to have the meetings, which used to be the first Tuesday in every month. But if you phone me, I'll make arrangements to meet up. We can go and have a coffee, perhaps even in the Witterings. You can come down if you've got transport, come down, or just have a chat on the phone. I'm more than willing to do that.
Okay, well, that's brilliant, Teresa, and I'm sure you're going to get people contact you, because it seems to be a growing problem. And I believe we've got you coming in again soon to talk to us about another subject.
Yeah, my dogs.
Exactly that, and we'll talk to you then.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye now.
Thank you for that interesting item. And it's back to Keith, who has a couple of lip-smacking recipes.
And our first recipe for this week is lamb cutlets in pastry with red wine gravy. And this is a posh dinner that's easier to make than it looks. And choose lovely British lamb, of course. Good quality puff pastry and decent red wine, and you can't go wrong. Now this will serve 4, and this is what we need. 1 well-trimmed rack of lamb, or 8 lamb cutlets. 1 tablespoonful of sunflower oil. Plain flour, just for rolling. 500 grams of ready-made puff pastry. 4 teaspoonsful of mint jelly. 1 egg beaten. Some sea salt flakes, and some freshly ground black pepper. And for the red wine gravy, we need 150 ml of red wine, 200 ml of lamb stock made with half a lamb stock cube, 1 tablespoonful of red currant jelly, and 1 teaspoonful of corn flour. And this is what we do. Put the rack of lamb on a board and cut into 8 cutlets, and season the cutlets all over with salt and pepper. Heat the oil in a large non-stick frying pan. Fry the cutlets in batches over a medium heat for 2 minutes on each side until nicely browned, and then transfer them to a plate and leave them to cool. To make the gravy, return the frying pan to the heat and pour in the red wine. Now stir to lift the sticky sediment from the bottom of the pan, because that gives it a lot of flavour, and bubble for 30 seconds or so. Then add the lamb stock and red currant jelly and bring to the boil and cook for 2 to 3 minutes, or until the liquid is reduced by half. Mix the corn flour with 2 teaspoonsful of cold water in a small bowl until it's nice and smooth, and then stir that into the frying pan. Stir in any juices from the lamb and cook the gravy for a minute more until thickened and glossy. Now season and pour into a small pan, set aside until you're ready to cook the cutlets. Line a large baking tray with baking parchment and sprinkle a light dusting of flour over your work surface, and roll out the pastry until roughly 30 centimetres by 30 centimetres and about 3 millimetres thick. And cut 8 squares, each measuring about 10 to 12 centimetres. Cut those out of the pastry, and depending on the size of the cutlets, of course. And place half a teaspoonful of mint jelly just off centre on each pastry square, and put a cutlet on top towards one of the corners. Brush the pastry edges lightly with a beaten egg, and fold the remaining 3 corners of the pastry over the lamb. Wrap firmly around the meat and leave the bone bare if possible. Turn the parcels over and place on the lined tray. Now the parcels can now be put into the fridge for a few hours, or even overnight if you like, until you're ready to bake them. Now preheat the oven to 200 degrees centigrade or gas mark 6. Bake the cutlets for 20 minutes until risen and golden brown. Reheat the gravy until bubbling and simmer for a minute or two while stirring. Check the seasoning and serve with the cutlets. And that's simple and straightforward and very tasty. And our second recipe for this week is easy crispy chicken. And this is finger looking good, of course, and all the family will love it. And this will serve 4, and this is what we need. 150 grams of white sliced bread, about 4 slices. 4 teaspoonsful of dried oregano or dried mixed herbs. 2 teaspoonsful of flaked sea salt. 25 grams of Parmesan cheese, finely grated. 4 tablespoonsful of low-fat natural yogurt. And 1 to 2 tablespoonsful of plain flour. And 4 boneless, skinless chicken breasts, each about 160 grams. And some freshly ground black pepper. And this is what we do. Preheat the oven to 220 degrees centigrade, or gas mark 7. Place the bread on a large baking tray lined with baking parchment and toast until pale golden brown. Now leave that to cool for 5 minutes and then remove the crusts and tear the bread into large pieces. Put the bread in a food processor and blitz it into crumbs. Now tip these into a large bowl and toss with the oregano, salt and the Parmesan cheese, and then season with lots of black pepper. Divide the crumb mixture between 2 dinner plates. Spoon the yogurt into a bowl and sprinkle the flour on a plate. Take a chicken breast and coat it lightly in the flour, shaking off any excess, then dip it into the yogurt until evenly covered, and then place the chicken on a plate of crumb mix and press so you get a nice thickish crust all over. Transfer the chicken carefully to the lined baking tray and continue dipping and coating the rest of the chicken breasts until they've all been done and they've all got a lovely crust of crumbs. And each plate of crumbs should be enough to coat about 2 chicken breasts. So bake the chicken for 20 to 25 minutes until golden and they're nice and crisp and cooked through, and then leave to stand for 4 or 5 minutes before serving with some nice fresh green salad. And it's a nice summary dish, crispy chicken, and it's nice and easy to do and it's good for you. And there's only 299 calories per portion. So if you're on a diet, you can still have it. No excuses at all. And that's it for this week. See you soon.
Thank you, Keith, and helpfully we've reached the end of the show, so you can dash off and try his recipes. Remember though to listen in again next week, where as usual we have a lot of interesting items, and this will include an exciting development at Local Life magazine, but we'll have to wait for Tracy to come in and tell us all about it. So it just remains for me to thank all our contributors, including Local Life magazine, our sound editor John Mallett, our presenters Alison and Keith, not forgetting of course our producer John Fletcher. So it's goodbye from me, Tony Weiner, until next time, bye.